What's going on, guys? Hope everybody's having a great day. So, everybody's been talking about Bethany Funke. Now that it's came out that she's got some type of information that could possibly exonerate Bryan Kohberger, everybody wants to know what that is. But let this be a lesson to everybody. Everybody, including myself, right? He's not guilty until he's proven guilty. Yes, we have heard a lot of things that make it seem like Bryan Kohberger is guilty. But all it takes is one thing. All it takes is one thing to say it couldn't have been him, and all the rest of that doesn't matter anymore. Do you understand that? If it couldn't have been him, it couldn't have been him, right? If she has information that would exonerate him, it blows my mind that other people are saying she shouldn't have been forced to testify. She shouldn't be forced to relive that trauma. What about his trauma? Right? I say that knowing that I get accused of being on Bryan Kohberger's side, when in reality, I'm just on my own side because I'm also an American and I don't want to get railroaded and charged with a crime that I'm not guilty of. And then they just say, well, he could be guilty. He seems guilty. He fits the profile. Have you seen him rant on YouTube? I mean, he's crazy, right? So I don't want to end up in a courtroom and them not have to prove that I'm guilty to punish me, especially when the punishment is death. It's death, people. So I don't give a damn if it inconveniences Bethany Funke. I don't care if she has to relive that trauma. If she does indeed have information that could exonerate Bryan Kohberger. Is that because I'm rooting for him to get away with it? No. If he did it, I want him to fry. That's the whole point, though. I don't want him to fry if he didn't do it, because if he didn't do it, then the person that did it is still there. Still out there, ready to do it again, with more victims on the way, because somebody who commits a crime like this doesn't stop here. So if he's not the right guy, that's a problem. How this is so hard to understand, I don't know. But I see all these other YouTubers come on here and talk about, well, they're on Bryan Kohberger's side more than any other. And they're arguing that, well, he might not be guilty. Well, no shit. He might not be guilty. He seems guilty. If I had to bet money on it, I'd probably bet money that he is guilty. That doesn't matter. What matters is, can you prove that he did it? Now, if you can't prove that he did it, does that mean that he's innocent? No. No, it doesn't. That doesn't mean that he didn't do it just because we can't prove that he did it, right? And it's very possible that it'll be pretty clear that he did it and yet get found not guilty, right? If anything, if there's any reasonable doubt that he didn't do it, then it can be pretty clear that he did it, but him still be found not guilty. So let's stop acting like this is some foregone conclusions, because it makes you feel better when you lay your head down at night to think they caught the bad guy and now he's going to pay with his life, right? If he is the bad guy, he deserves to pay with his life. But if he's not, then he doesn't. And I think if you're going to take his life, you should at least prove it, right? Prove that he's the bad guy. And I don't think that it's that big of a deal to ask one of the roommates of the 4 victims, one of their friends that lived in the same house as them, that was supposedly there on that night, as far as we know, to come in and tell what she saw and what she heard that night. Because sure, she doesn't have to come in and testify till trial, but if she has information that could exonerate him, why doesn't he deserve it? Now remember, if she has information that could exonerate him, that would make him innocent. You don't get to say he's a murderer, he doesn't deserve it, if she does indeed have information that could exonerate him. Now, could Bryan Kohberger be grasping at straws here? Could he be just trying to set him up for inconsistency? Maybe he's just trying to get her to tell a story, and it doesn't exactly match with Dylan's story. So then they try to say that, well, they're not credible because their stories don't match. Maybe they're trying to trip them up about descriptions or what they saw. Maybe it's something like that. It could be. Sure, just as possible as that she may actually have information that the defense believes could exonerate their client. This rush of emotion that you get when you think about this case, we all get it. I mean, I'm over here ranting and raving on the internet about it, right? And I'm some dumb country boy sitting over here in the fucking sticks in Alabama. And I can tell you that it matters more to me, more than anything else, that we preserve the system by which we punish each other, right? That we keep America America, that we follow the laws, that we don't just put in an express line because, hey, that guy looks weird and it seems like he did it to me, so might as well go ahead and string him up because, I mean, I ain't gonna miss him, you know. He's a creepy looking guy. Look at him with his beady eyes and his little swoop on his hair. He looks evil, right? So go ahead and send him to the firing squad. But if he didn't do anything, that makes you the murderer. That makes you the one wanting to take an innocent life. How do you not see that? How do you not? Right? And how is it going to feel when it's you, or God forbid your child, or your significant other, or your brother or sister, or whoever, whatever you have, if it's one of them, and they're in this position, and you believe that they're innocent, they're telling you they're innocent, you believe it wholeheartedly, and they tell you that this girl over here, she could come and she could tell them, and it would prove that I'm innocent. And then that girl was like, you know, I really don't want to. And really just, I don't think I'm going to. How would you feel about that girl? Would she be the bad guy then? If it was your people wanting her to go? Would she be the bad guy when you need her? Or is Bryan Kohberger just the bad guy and that's that? We don't care about justice. We don't care about who actually did it. We don't care about solving the crime. None of that. We got this guy. Seems good enough. We're rolling with that. What do you think, guys? What do you think? Is that good enough? Is it good enough to be pretty sure? Is it good enough that, well, I'd bet money on it, but I can't prove it? Does that mean that he gets to pay with his life? Now, maybe they can prove it. Maybe they have every duck lined up in a row and they're going to show you exactly what happened that night, tell you exactly why it happened. They're just going to lay it right out there for you and you'll be able to understand everything. Everything will become so clear at what happened and how it happened that you couldn't even imagine that they did their job that well. That's a possibility. A slim one, but a possibility. But it's also a possibility that they get to this preliminary hearing and Bethany Funke has said, I saw somebody else at a different time do this and I know Bryan Kohberger personally and I called him to come to the house, right? Maybe Bethany Funke says the DoorDash driver was the one leaving the house in a hurry that night. Like I saw the DoorDash driver pull up and come in the house and they were in the house for a little while and then they left. What if she says that, right? What if she says, well, there were other people there when I went downstairs and Bryan Kohberger wasn't one of them, but I know Bryan. What if she says Bryan was upstairs with Dylan? Anyway, Bryan Kohberger looks like a weird guy. That's no reason to put him to death. There's some evidence that points to him being the killer. It looks that way. The way everything has been reported and framed in all the police reports, on the news, through YouTubers, just the information that has came out, it should make you feel like Bryan Kohberger is guilty because that's what they're trying to do, to make you feel like Bryan Kohberger is guilty. And maybe they're telling you the truth. There's a good chance of that they have the right guy and there's nothing else to fear, nothing else to worry about, nobody else involved. They've got the story. They know exactly how it went. They're rolling with it. But there's also a chance that they think all that, but they're wrong. There's also a chance that they're doing that to sweep this under the rug and get this gone so they got their sacrificial lamb, right? Could be that. Slight chances that, but still a chance. Still could happen. Still has happened before. Think about all that. Think about if you were in his position, would you want the benefit of the doubt? Would you want to at least be able to give your side before you're sentenced to death? If you were sitting in a jail cell, solitary confinement at that, and you were sitting in that jail cell away from your life where you were just a PhD student, that you were just about to finish school and really become somebody, right? If you were on the brink of that, and we all feel like we're on the brink of that all the time, but he was a PhD student. Good or bad, he was a PhD student, right? So he had a life to look forward to. He had something to live for. He may have committed a horrible crime and threw it all away, but he may not have, right? Right? Could you see a chance that it wasn't him? Could you see a reason for the things that we know to be true, but not end with him being the murderer? Maybe you can't. Maybe you can't. Maybe the fact that his DNA was at the scene, that his car was seen at the scene, that it was driving erratically away, maybe those things bother you. Maybe the fact that that car that was driving away erratically, it had no front tag, and he had no front tag on his car that matches that description. Most. I mean, it's not a 2013, it's 2015, but close enough, right? But he was in that area, right? According to cell phone pings. How accurate are those cell phone pings? How close in that area? Not really sure, right? We really don't know that yet, but we know that he was in that area. I mean, he only lived 10 miles away, and some cell phone towers ping for up to 20 miles. So, I mean, where in that area? We don't know, but he was in that area. It is a college town. He is a college student. There's two colleges real close to each other. I bet there's a lot of intermingling, right? Maybe Bryan Kohberger knew who they were. Maybe they knew who he was, right? Maybe. But the bottom line is, if Bethany Funke does have information that could exonerate Bryan Kohberger, I don't really care if it's an inconvenience to her. I don't really care if it makes her feel bad. Because if she has information that could exonerate him, then that means that there's a higher likelihood than not that he's probably an innocent person sitting in jail for a crime he didn't commit. Now, if they're just playing games, well then, boo on them, right? But the way our justice system works is that defendant is supposed to get every benefit of the doubt. Every benefit of the doubt. You're supposed to prove it beyond any reasonable doubt before you find him guilty. You can believe what you want. You can feel how you want. But before you can legally punish that man, you have to find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.